When it comes to remote presenting, unfortunately your audience has become a USB key. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for inviting me into your workspace. What follows is a simple little video piece to help you present more effectively remotely, to instill confidence in you, your team, or perhaps indeed your clients. So let's just talk a little bit about a guru when it comes to presentations, a guy by the name of Steve Jobs. Here's an interesting quote from him. Now, of course, Steve used PowerPoint, but was very conscious of its own limitations. And we all know that it's not the software that's the problem, it's the presenter. Presenting remotely, you've got to still be impressive, you've got to still be engaging, and you've got to still be memorable. If they can't remember your presentation, sure, really, what's the point? A lot of presentations remotely have become click and read news events, almost a little bit like a teleprompter. But the problem isn't all around PowerPoint. Let's just really think about what is in play when it comes to presenting effectively. Let's talk about the 360, the 3Ms, what we call the 3Ms, which are all interdependent. The message, the medium, and the messenger. Quick drill down on that. The science of messaging is about crafting interesting and relevant content. If it's a pitch, you want to be clear, you want to be concise, you want to be compelling, and you want to be convincing. The art side of things is about the medium, which can be the visuals, of course, but also can be the technology that you're using, the mic, the camera, and so forth, and that can be a challenge in itself. And then of course the messenger is me, myself and I, my own particular style, how I look, not forgetting the soft skills, body language, all that type of good stuff. And really what we need to be clear of is we're looking for an integrated performance so that we come across professional, audience friendly, and creating, as we mentioned earlier, high recall. But when it comes to remote presenting, there are challenges, there are issues. Attention is a key one. Wow, I mean, they say nowadays a goldfish has a better attention span than humans. And we're all suffering from Zoom and team fatigue. So there's limitations in terms of how well or how easy it is to keep people engaged. Some people say it's only really around 15 minutes when you're presenting remotely. In person, you might get 20 to 30 minutes. And technology is a key thing. And be conscious if you're using PowerPoint of the challenges that can be in there when you're presenting remotely. I mean, we have found just because an audio works fine on Zoom doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work fine on Teams. Broadband, my goodness, we've got 2 providers now with broadband and we're looking at getting a 3rd, because if the internet goes down, it's really game over. And that again is of course a real test. But when it comes to slides, try and use fewer slides. Less animation is a good rule of thumb as well, and have text probably larger than perhaps might be normal. And watch out for those bullet points, folks. Of course, as well, when you're presenting remotely, it could be in a box room or it could be in a kitchen. So the environment is, of course, a little bit of a test, and try and work on that and try and have it look as professional as you possibly can. It's so easy with remote presenting to come across impersonal, formulaic, and ultimately uninspiring. And try not be a perfectionist. We know it's not Hollywood. Just aim for excellence rather than perfection. Okay, so let's just be clear. We've got the 3Ms that are in place, the message, the medium, and the messenger. Just to be clear on that, the messaging is about crafting interesting and relevant content. The second piece of the jigsaw, which helps synergize everything, is the messenger, the humanics of the presentation, how you use your voice, how you look, what you're wearing, all that type of good stuff. And of course, then the medium can be the background, visuals. But when you're making decisions in terms of effective presentations, the king of the castle, folks, of course, is the audience. Every decision you make should be made in the context of the audience itself. Right, let me give you a quick little drill down on some of those particular aspects. When it comes to the messenger presenting remotely, you've got to really ramp up on the energy levels, folks, because it is hard to get attention, keep attention, and gain retention of those key messages. How you look is a big factor. Try and, shoulders, head, occupy at least 50% of the screen. We like to use a microphone which is very effective, which is called the Yeti microphone, the Blue Yeti microphone, very good. A Logitech camera is very good as well, although we're using a slightly different type of system here in terms of camera. Lighting, we've got a couple of different lights as well, which help light up the background and take those shadows away to some degree. Also as well, very important in terms of the messenger is to look at that dot. Yeah, I know it's a little bit unnatural, but it's key. If you're just totally engaged with the screen, you're going to be looking down or indeed looking up. Engage with that dot, folks, and warm up the voice. So important. Get that voice working. And a nice constraint to consider, of course, is the fact that your background can be a little bit Emmerdale Farm, but it can be professional as well, like Barack Obama's here, or indeed his colleague. Although I'd like to see a nice little painting perhaps in the background of that colleague there as well. It probably would lighten things up a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's all about looking professional. That's absolutely key. Coming back to the vocal energy side of things, folks, nice quote here from my colleague in the Abbey Theatre. She trains actors and actresses, and she's so strong in terms of warming up that vocal energy, even just doing things like rolling your shoulders and your arms. To get those energy levels up, open up those lungs. It's all about the power of your voice, and that can have almost 40% of your impact is how you use your vocal energy. Wake up that particular voice. Right, let's talk a little bit about messaging. And again, as we mentioned, it's got to be pertinent and relevant to what the audience want to hear. A wealth of information can create a poverty of attention. Be sure you got your narrative succinct and to the point. If you've no narrative and no script, you will wander aimlessly and you will repeat yourself. Even have little tricks of the trade in play, like post-its or posters behind the camera, little prompts that'll help you with the narrative. So important, folks. Here's a really nice template that I often use when I'm creating content or putting together a visual webinar, seminar, whatever it may be. Let me just give you a little bit of an insight onto how that works. A simple fast track formula is to firstly anchor the fundamentals. It's important just to get it done, folks. What is the purpose of the presentation? Is it to educate, persuade, entertain, or motivate? Setting the scene here will shape content in terms of language and pertinent points. Who is in the audience? Why are they there? And have you a call to action for them? Be sure to advise on the duration of your remote presentation and perhaps create an agenda. Next, it's brainstorming time. Capture up to 12 elements, folks, to include talking points, impactful phrases, pertinent examples, illustrations, facts, stats, props, and some slides that will bridge understanding and drive recall. If they can't remember the presentation, as we mentioned earlier, what's the point? If on average audiences only remember up to 20% of the content, determine what must be remembered and why. So to keep engagement and copper fast in that 20%, simply support the key points with up to 4 pieces of context narrative. Here's the edge. Smart, cool school presenters make a real difference by starting with a power opening and finishing with a power close. But simply the first and final few words. Typically stories, quotes, or perhaps a startling statistic. Be sure to bridge to the message to fully frame the presentation and get a real result. So folks, just follow this fast track formula. It's unconditionally guaranteed. You will get the message across when nothing else matters. And here's a real life example of the one that I've used recently, and you can see the way I've populated the content here in terms of purpose and 4 key takeaways. So important, folks. Let's just talk a little bit about the medium. Oh, that mute button, my God, it drives us all crazy. Be conscious of it for you and for your people online. Good idea as well to split the screen into two particular presenters. It helps engagement. It is a little bit more natural. And also on those slides, folks, the less animation, the better. Use fewer slides. Have a font size that's slightly bigger than normal. And for heaven's sake, have a script, a patter or a narrative as we call it. So important. So in slides, folks, even a slide as simple as this, which has got a number of moving parts, can freeze on you in terms of remote presenting, but it does help engagement. So it is a little bit of trial and error, but it does help in terms of engagement. Nice little bit of animation. Fade and wipe, if you're going to use the animation, should be what's going to work best. So old school are slides that look like this, folks. Smart school are slides that look a little bit like this. These four anchors, folks, are so important as takeaways to this succinct video piece. Without them, you're really relying on a miracle. And it's not that miracles don't happen. You can't actually just rely on them. So do reinforce these four key takeaways. Now, to help you with that, here's some good books and narrative that will help you be a better presenter remotely. And be sure to look at Vibe Training Ireland website as well, folks. It's hosted up there on YouTube, a nice little channel that's got all types of video pieces to help you be more effective when you're presenting remotely. Okay, folks, so remember, your audience is a USB key, but you still got to get the message across. Nothing else matters.